Hey guys, so I'm reacting to some old news that is still relevant. There was an article that I found today written, I think it's December 5th of 2022, so the end of last year, that talked about how a AI computer managed to beat a human in the game Stratego. So for you guys who aren't familiar with that game, it's this game. It has pieces on a board, kind of like checkers and chess. Each piece has a numerical value. And based on the numerical value, if it encounters another piece with a smaller numerical value, it can beat that piece. And the only thing is you don't know the value of the piece that you're encountering. So you're basically striking without knowing what you're striking. Okay, so this is an impressive feat for these game playing AIs. And I'm going to keep doing this. Okay, guys. So I think 2017, a computer beats somebody Go, something like that. I think it's around 2017, sometime around that, I guess. 2019, they have a computer which can consistently beat people in high stakes poker. 2022, beating people in Stratego. So we say AI. Every time this happens, people say the AI is getting more advanced, it's becoming more intelligent, and it's the next closer and closer to reaching this state of, real intelligence. No, it's not. Can we please stop calling this artificial intelligence? This is not intelligence. These are algorithms. These are more impressive and better algorithms. They are impressive. These are feats. I'm not trying to take that away from these people. But what's going on is, over the years, the processing power has gotten better, the storage capacity has gotten better, and people are just exploiting that. The algorithms are still algorithms. They are not thinking. Just because someone a long time ago said that something would never be possible, when that thing happens, that doesn't mean it's magic. It just means that that person who made that prediction decades or 100 years ago or whatever, they were wrong. And often very smart people are wrong about their predictions. I'm sure at some point somebody said, who was very smart, said, we will never fly. And to say that, well, now we're flying, we're getting closer and closer to magic. No, we're not. We're just coming up with better machines. So we're just coming up with better processing and better algorithms. We're not getting closer and closer to intelligence. This is not intelligence. What we are committing with this is something that is, well, I'm going to call it the reverse ludic fallacy. So what is the actual ludic fallacy? This is a term that Nassim Nicholas Taleb came up with. And it's basically this idea of what we do is we look at the real world and we think of the real world as games. We say that, well, in games you have these nice parameters and probabilities that makes it predictable. And we have this tendency to look at the world and say, yes, we have these parameters, we have these probabilities, it's predictable. Think about markets, financial markets, think about weather, think about human behavior in economics and sociology. That's the ludic fallacy. Well, what we're doing is the reverse ludic fallacy. I just made that term up. So the reverse ludic fallacy, we're looking at these games and thinking of them as the real world. We're sitting there saying that if you have a machine which is really good at Go, which is really good at Stratego, which is really good at poker, that it can now apply that to the real world. And no, because the thing about it is that these games aren't the real world. We think of Go as being a complex game because the first move you have in Go, you have 19 by 19 options, right? And then by that, what about your second option? Well, you have 19 by whatever, right? So in our minds, we think of this as being complex, but the universe, the world is infinitely more complex than that. So to sit there and think that a game, because it can work within these relatively tiny parameters, I mean, basically the parameters, if you look at all the probability of the universe and compare it to these games, this game is the most predictable thing that you can ever encounter compared to the actual universe. I know that sounded kind of weird, but just, trying to express an idea. So we're doing this thing called the reverse ludic fallacy, and people time and time again call it AI because we get excited about it. We want to think that we've achieved this thing. Now, I'm not saying that we won't achieve it. I'm not saying that we won't ever create artificial intelligence, because I'm not going to be the person who makes the prediction of something being impossible and then to be proven wrong in 50 years or maybe even less time. And honestly, I think that one day we will achieve it. But what we're doing now really one, it isn't it, and honestly, it's not getting any closer to actual artificial intelligence. So, like I said, reverse ludic fallacy. So I kind of make a proposition here. We had something called the Turing Test, which roughly was something Alan Turing said, that if you can create a computer or a program which can interact with a human and convince that human that through conversation they're human, then we have an intelligent machine. And we have machines that can, pass the Turing test, of course, but we still don't say they're, self-aware. So let's have a new test. And I'm going to propose we have what I'm going to call the Bill Waters test, in the same spirit of these games, right? So for you guys who don't know, Bill Waters is the creator of the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. And in the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, so Calvin is this young, this little boy, and he has an imaginary friend in the form of his stuffed tiger. And they play this nonsensical game called Calvin Ball. And there's only one rule to Calvin Ball, and the rule is it can't be played the same way twice. So my proposition with the Bill Waters test, inspired by this, is that we essentially have a computer playing a form of Calvin Ball, where it's playing an opponent, where the rules are constantly changing. The rules cannot fall back on previous rules, and you have to constantly come up with new rules. The objective of Calvin Ball isn't to win. The objective of Calvin Ball is to keep going, to frustrate the other player by pure randomness. If you have a machine that can play Calvin Ball and play Calvin Ball convincingly, at that point, we have a thinking machine. We have a machine which is creative, which is imaginative, and which is innovative. But right now, all we have are really, really cool algorithms. So I think the people who keep saying it's AI, they fall into these camps. They're either people who don't understand what actual intelligence is, or they're people who are using it to market something that isn't what it is to make money. So if I say, here's a search engine and it uses artificial intelligence, it makes it sound really cool. If I have a car and I say it uses artificial intelligence, it makes it sound really cool. It at least makes it sound cooler than saying, I have a search engine in a car which uses a really fancy algorithm. Anyway, my proposition, the Bill Waters test, have it play Calvin Ball. Thank you.